Rule number every day. Don't wait for the opportunity.
I am
Create it.
Margarita Holman with Daisy Bar, and we're going to talk today about to honor or ignore when it comes to Mother's Day and Father's Day. And if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
For sure. Hey. Super excited to be here. My name is Uwem. You can call me Coach Uwem. I am the lead coach of All Made Well Recovery. I particularly work with pastors and individuals who want to use their story to disrupt church culture, shake things up a bit, but also to be the kind of disruptors that Jesus was. And so I am super excited to be here. Margarita, it was amazing to finally meet you, but also to, have a moment for us to connect. We talked several weeks ago, for everybody else listening. We talked a few weeks ago and we were just like spitballing all of these amazing ideas and we totally had a blast hanging out together. And so this was kind of what led to this moment. We have both experienced loss. And so looking at Mother's Day, looking at Father's Day was like, we've got some complicated emotions sitting in this. And so we wanted to take a moment to just talk with you about it.
Yes, we were originally going to do it before Mother's Day, but our conversation was so close to Mother's Day. And then we realized that Father's Day was coming up. And so those same triggers, depending on if you've lost both one parent, or what exactly has happened, might come up. So we, definitely wanted to talk about this. I had actually posted something on my page talking about how we have to remember to check in on our friends and our family and people, because I think what happens when people lose people is most people just go on. It's not their loss. Yeah, okay, I feel bad for you right now today because there's a funeral and we're talking about it and we're posting about it, we're showing our remorse. But at the end of the day, that was my mother for 40 years. That wasn't your mother for 40 years. So at a point, you're going to go on with life, and we all will, and that's what should happen. But we might forget, especially for me, I'm fortunate that I have my husband and I have several older kids. But what about the people that don't have that support? And when those things come up, they're just stuck in those moments. I just wanted people to remember to check on their people, because so many people right now, we noticed more during COVID because we stopped and what was going on with COVID. We were more on social media and engaged in the platforms. But so many people are still passing away from depression and different things. And those are things that sometimes, and of course, I'm not in no therapist. So let me make that disclaimer. I'm not even a coach, but I am a person. I'm a person that's gone through these things. And like I said, I'm very fortunate that I have a good support group. So when I get in those little moments and they kind of notice, like, oh, well, let's take mom out for Mother's Day. Because for me, Mother's Day was about my mother. It wasn't really about me. Even when I became a mom, I still thought of my mother, just like Father's Day. My kids think about my husband. I do think about him, but that was my dad's day way before it was my husband's day. And so, anyways, that's why I wanted to get in this conversation. And like you said, we really got into it and it was pretty awesome. We have a couple people joining us. I'm about to add them in and then I'll let you check in.
Hi, I'm Robin Spence, and I am a real estate agent and a mother, and glad to be able to join you ladies today.
Hi, my name is Dottie. I'm a truck driver, very interested in what you ladies have to say today. I am a person who is, I'm actually a widow. I lost my husband. I'm 5 years in June, but yeah, the pain is real. So even to this day. So I appreciate you guys having such a forum. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
I appreciate your transparency. Thanks for being here.
Thank you guys both. I appreciate you joining us because there's so many perspectives. I think I spoke to you about it last night. Like, okay, yes, I've lost both my parents, so I totally understand. But I've also known people that have lost their children. Or like my daughter said, for Mother's Day, people were telling her Happy Mother's Day. She has no kids. And if that was something she really longed for, how would that affect her? And then for me, I have two brothers in prison. So it's just so many areas we can go. But right now, I guess we can just start with our experiences.
So just a little bit of background on me. I am married. I've got 4 kids, and I guess my experience with Mother's Day was literally split right in half, because my mom passed away when I was 26, and it was 11 months before my first son was born. And so for me, it was Mother's Day was her day, and then my mom was gone, and Mother's Day was about me. And so it was this very, very stark contrast between that almost kind of like before motherhood, I don't know, like a BC AD kind of thing. Because for that year when I was pregnant with my son, I poured into him throughout pregnancy and throughout, his first year. And during those years, I didn't really pay a whole lot of attention to how I was feeling about losing my mom, because now I have a baby and now I'm going to focus on my baby, because this is a feeling and a thought that felt a lot better. On the flip side, with Father's Day, my father is still alive. We've never been close though. And so there has always been tension within our relationship. And so Father's Day has not always been an easy holiday for me. And so, likewise, with that, when I got married and I'm watching my husband, who is an exceptional father and adores our children and is so incredibly present with them, I'm like, I thoroughly Father's Day in his court. And I'm like, this is all about you, babe, because you're amazing and I love you so much. But it definitely still had that tension when I think about my dad. We are in contact. He is around. He lives in a different state, but our relationship isn't what I always hoped it would be. And so Father's Day is still somewhat challenging. So when I think about the struggle for these days, I think a lot of us have very complicated emotions around these holidays, whether it be from losing a loved one, losing a parent, losing a child, losing a spouse. Like, all of these emotions start to come up. And especially when you see everyone else around you is so excited and so happy and celebrating and buying gifts for their moms, and moms are posting all the things that they got. For me, I love the moment when I get to, celebrate the fact that I'm a mom, but at the same time, I wish that I could celebrate being a mom with my mom. And it's like there's that back and forth with those emotions. I know early on I was very much comfortable with denial. And I think that's definitely the case for a lot of us, especially in the beginning. Denial just feels more comfortable. Like, no, I'm fine. No, I'm gonna focus on this over here. I'm not gonna talk about it. We don't need to go there. I'm not dealing with that because that's icky feelings and I want no part of it. And I think that, what I'm learning and what I've learned dealing with the people that I coach, um, denial is not all bad. I know that probably sounds insane because most people are like, denial is horrible. And honestly, I am absolutely one of those people. But I kind of sat with this, and I think that early on, denial is necessary. It's something that allows us to kind of catch our breath when everything is like exploding. Like, okay, nope, I'm not going there yet. I'm not ready for that yet. And I'm just going to push it away for just a little bit. I think the danger comes when we stay there, when we sit in that denial and we refuse to come out of it, when we don't have spaces to go where we can come out of it. That's when it starts to get dangerous. And so I know during the years where things were tense and difficult for me, I had to actively put myself in spaces where I could deal with what I was feeling. And it wasn't because of losing my mom that I did that, but it was an enormous side effect blessing where I was able to say, you know what, I miss her. I hate November because that was the month of her birthday. And so the entire month of November, my attitude, my temper, my anxiety was out of this world. And my husband pointed out one day, he's like, babe, maybe it's just because it's November. And I was like, ugh. But once I realized that, I was like, okay. So now I tell him, I'm like, I'm not really feeling it this year. And then later on, I started to realize like it didn't hurt as bad because I had actually started to step into healing those areas. I had gotten to a place where I was comfortable talking about her. I had been able to say when things were good and when things were very much not good. And I think all of it is necessary.
Can I ask you a question real quick? With your husband, because you didn't have a relationship with your dad and you didn't really settle, was it like initially like this is great, or was it like, oh no, I don't even want to celebrate you, even though you haven't done anything wrong? You get some of the slight from, sometimes that we transfer those emotions onto other people that don't necessarily deserve it. Like nobody's gonna celebrate Mother's Day because I'm not celebrating Mother's Day.
Honestly, no. With him, it wasn't. Our relationship has. I mean, we've been together since we were 16 and 17, so we've got history there. But I think with Father's Day, I always wanted to feel like it was worth celebrating. Like I wanted to have someone that deserved that kind of honor. And forgive me for the words, but I know that, my relationship with my dad was tense. And so I didn't want to celebrate him. So that's, when we were thinking about the title and when I was thinking about honoring or ignoring, I leaned on the ignoring But there was a lot of years I didn't call, I didn't send cards. And before my mom passed, she was so adamant, you need to honor your father. And I'm like, yeah, well, he doesn't call me on my birthday. I don't really care. So, but that was what I needed during that time. And there were some years that I celebrated him, and there were other years that I didn't, but I always wanted to, right? And so when I started watching my husband and seeing the way that he interacts with our kids and the personality that he has as a father, celebrating him was easy. Like he deserves all of the celebration. He is a phenomenal dad. And so I wanted to give him that. And turning that attention toward him was kind of healing. It was me being able to see that this is not all men. This was my dad having struggled with something that he had not yet learned how to overcome. My husband didn't have those issues. My husband adores our kids. My husband plays with our kids. He has emotional coaching moments with our kids. Like he is very much in it. And so I wanted to celebrate him.
I appreciate that because I was reading where a lot of people feel like Father's Day doesn't get the acknowledgement as Mother's Day. We don't spend as much time, and fathers don't get as much. And right, that it's always kind of been like that. I think I was more like Happy Mother's Day until I got older. I probably said it more to my mom, even though as I got older, I was probably closer to my dad. But it just seemed like something you did. And so it's good to hear that you have that good relationship and good reason to celebrate because we need to celebrate our men too.
Absolutely.
A lot of us have sons, and your son's going to grow up and he's going to be that man that wants to be or should be celebrated. And hopefully, by celebrating their fathers, the deserving ones, of course, we're showing them that yes, there are men. Yeah, I might have talked about somebody not showing up and what didn't happen, but look, right here, there are men that like everything. There's women and men that don't do what they're supposed to, but you got to see that you're worthy of being celebrated if you do the right thing. So I'm glad you experienced those stuff. Robin, what you want to check in with us?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, you were talking about living in the land of, I'm not going to deal with that. I think I have been there for a while. I have one biological son, and he will be 30 in July. And then I have four little babies. One is 5, and then I have a set of triplets that are 4. And my son, being a parent of one child, all your dreams, aspirations, everything like rises and sets in there. And one child is unfortunate because it's a lot of pressure on them, right?
Mhm.
Versus if you have 2, 3, or 4, multiple children, then at least you could spread out all that pressure. It's not all on one. Well, for him, he chose a different path in life, I would say. Like right now, he's alive and healthy and well, but he's not with us out here in society. He's actually in jail. And I'm only sharing that because to kind of bring it all in fruition. I realize with my little ones, especially the 5-year-old, that I think it was just like I'm not dealing with that because I kind of felt like a failure with him versus the other ones. I'm like, okay, God gave me a chance to get it right this time. And so my sister Dottie and also Margarita has expressed to me like, girl, you didn't get it wrong with the first one, first of all. And second of all, no matter what you do with the other ones, it still won't heal whatever's going on, how you feel about the older one. So living in the land of denial, I was there for a long time and I'm still kind of there, but I'm just like now, like, okay, let me start dealing with this. No matter how great of a parent you are with this one, it still does not saying I wasn't a great parent with the other one, but doesn't bridge the gap, if that makes sense. So it is hard. And feeling like, because although he's alive, but him not being here, you do feel like, not that he's dead, but like there's a death in your relationship, right? Your closeness, being able to be a mother. Mother's Day just passed. My son is a parent of 5 beautiful children, just all of that kind of thing. It's kind of, Marguerite's always surprised at what I'm going to share.
Yeah, I didn't know you were going to share that. We had talked about that circumstance, but yeah, I tell people to share what they feel comfortable. I would never tell your business, but I appreciate you sharing that because other people are feeling that. Like, and then they're probably ashamed because they haven't actually lost them. But it's like when my mom had dementia for 5 years, I didn't feel like I had a mom, So I did have a mom though. So I wouldn't tell that to somebody who actually lost their mom, but I had lost her as far as understanding and
need.
being there and support. And so
Mhm.
it's the same thing when you lose a child to prison. And especially like you said, you only have one. So what happened if he, or jail or wherever, I'm sorry if I misspoke. When you lose somebody like that, you don't get those, he can't take you out to dinner. So then, and then with social media, it makes us all see things probably in a manner that we wouldn't have paid attention to before. It's like, oh,
Mhm.
everybody else, well, darn, what I mean? And
Right.
even though it's not really, we're still human. Like people say, well, you shouldn't be jealous, you shouldn't be, like, we're still human. We still see, you still
Mhm.
see that somebody else is able to celebrate in a manner that you kind of would like to. And that's
Mhm.
why when I shared that post on Mother's Day about check on your friends, is you just need to check on your friends. There's so many different ones, and there's so many affected. If you're really a friend, we should. And I'm talking to myself because a lot of times when I talk about stuff, I'm speaking 100% to myself. So I'm not the person that has somebody in the audience in mind. I'm speaking to myself. I should check on my friends, and now going forward, I know I should check on Robin just a little bit closer on those days because even though she has other kids, there's still that little, like you said, gap right there, or that little thought that might come by, and that little thought that might cross your mind, and you don't want to get caught up in it. That's why we check on people. You don't want to get caught up. It's human, but you don't want to, like you said, stay there. You don't want to stay
Mhm.
there. I think we should all have thoughts. You said also about denial. I had denial when my mom first passed. I didn't really deal with it because she did have the dementia for 5 years. So I thought it was going to be so much easier when I lost her. I didn't think it would be as hard as it was. But then you still have those ideas and those thoughts. And when she was here, I could still look at her and say Happy Mother's Day, even though she didn't always know what was going on. She was in and out of how much of her was here, basically.
Mhm.
And but I still had that, and I did the denial thing, and I think that worked. My dad died 2 years later, and my dad I definitely had to deal with differently because he was unexpected and we were so close. So it just was like boom. And so yeah, I appreciate you sharing that different aspect, Robin, and you as far as even speaking about your dad, because everybody's not willing to come on. And at the end of the day, our goal is, I'm sure with your coaching, with our raising the bar, is
Mhm.
just to help other people know they're not alone. Like you're not the only
Right.
one in this situation. We're just not
Right.
all talking about it. We're not all
Right.
open to share it.
Right.
100%. I think that's why
Yeah.
like this gives people the opportunity to talk and to just kind of
Mhm.
say what's on their minds and how they feel and where their heart is because you just don't know. Like you said, if you see everybody on Instagram, Instagram ready, right? We're not getting on there unless we're ready. And so
Yeah.
everything looks perfect. Like, oh my gosh, look at Robin. She has the kids. They're out here. They're doing this. They're doing that. But they don't know, how you still have a ache in your heart for your other child because they're not there too.
Right. When I was like brainstorming and thinking about, going live about this, I was when I first stepped into like the recovery space, I learned this idea that I thought was really impactful. It was talking about like emotional pain versus physical pain. And typically people can say, well, this physical pain is painful, right? I stubbed my toe, I burned my finger, like it's painful, right? But we separate that from emotional and mental pain, right? Our bodies don't know the difference. Like when we experience trauma of any kind, it tells us the same thing, the same message. And so when you see like a couple years ago, I had this really bad burn on my hand, right? And every single time I went toward anything that was even remotely warm, my hand would start throbbing, right? And what did I do? I recoiled away from the thing that was triggering the pain and I went to go do something else. We had a lot of salads and fruit that week. Like I wanted nothing to do with cooking. Why? Because I was triggered by the physical pain by being around anything warm, right? And so the same is true when we experience emotional things. Like our heart doesn't know the difference. Our heart is like, oh, this hurts. And I don't like pain and I want no parts of it. And so when we have an emotional pain that is tied to a parent or a spouse or a child or anything surrounding Mother's Day and Father's Day, what are we going to do? Recoil. That trigger makes us want to pull in, push away, have nothing to do with that feeling. Whether that means we lean into the little ones that are not making us feel that way, like I did, or we're just like, you know what? The holiday doesn't even exist. I'm going to take myself out for lunch because I don't really care about anybody. Like whatever that recoil response is for you, it's natural and it's normal and it's reasonable. And again, I'm not an advocate for staying in denial, but I really honestly very passionately want all of us to just be compassionate with ourselves and say, you know what? It hurt. It hurt, and it hurts still, and it's hard still, and I'm frustrated, and I don't like this, or whatever those emotions are, and say, you know what? It's reasonable. It's reasonable for me to feel this way. I'm not wrong for feeling this thing. You know, a lot of times in what I do, I come across people that are so resistant to feeling that they can't even say, I'm having a rough day. They can't even say, this situation makes me angry. They can't even say, I hate Mother's Day, even though I have children who celebrate me because of that loss over there. They can't say that because it feels like it's wrong to feel that. And it's not. It's normal. It's natural. It's completely reasonable. And so I encourage, my clients, like, get a journal and write it down. And if you're really courageous, just say it out loud. Like, I think it was probably Mother's Day. I wanna say maybe 2 years ago. I was in a good place, like, I had done a lot of internal work, and I was in a really good place, but I was talking with my kids, and my kids, they're incredibly emotionally aware, thanks to having 2 parents who talk about their feelings all the time. But they asked me, they're like, "How do you feel on Mother's Day since your mom isn't here?" And I was like, I really appreciate you asking that because I adore the fact that I get to celebrate with you. I adore the fact that I get to experience motherhood in this way, but it does make me miss her. It does make me think about her. It does make me a little sad that she's not here to see you playing the piano and running laps around our house. Like, those things are difficult, but I needed to be able to say that and know that it's okay to have both sides. It's okay to feel good and bad at the same time. It's a complicated thing to look into our own hearts, and it's okay to have both.
You're absolutely right. How about Dottie? Dottie, do you want to join say anything? Do you have any comments?
Okay, well, I'm gonna flash my face so I can say hello to. I do apologize, but I'm a truck driver, and my day did not end until about 7 or 8 o'clock this morning, and
Goodness.
I'm in Ohio. So I'm laying down, being a little lazy, so that's why I was kind of like covering up my face. But
Oh, that's
Girl,
fine.
I'm not lazy right now.
yeah, so first off, let me thank you, ladies, for offering this forum. Once again, it's very wonderful to be able to talk to people about loss, and I talk with my sister quite often, and I express to her like I feel like I'm just I'm in limbo. Yeah, like I said, my husband passed away in June of 2018. And honestly, because of my relationship with my father and with my mother, my mom is gone and my grandmother is gone. I was raised by my grandmother. My mother and father were young parents, but kind of not really, really there. I don't want to go into all of that. But it didn't take away the fact that, yeah, that's still my mom. I loved her 100%. And I always tell people there's nothing I wouldn't do to have my mama come back and cuss me out one good time, nothing I wouldn't do, in spite of the fact that she wasn't the quote unquote optimal parent. But if you look in the Bible says honor thy parents no matter what. Doesn't say honor them if they're good to you. Doesn't say honor them if they're the best parents in the world. It doesn't say honor them, it just says honor them no matter what. And currently, Robin and I are going through a special sort of situation because our dad is ill. He's still alive. He's still on this plane. Wasn't always there, but like again, it doesn't take away the need to love him, to support him, to be everything that a child should be to a parent. And I just wish more men. I know you guys mentioned earlier that, those who deserve it, but I wish more men would be open to this type of situation. And even where Robin's son is concerned, to understand how their actions affect those that are their children and not just their children. Because when they are incarcerated, when they are not there physically, just to lend a helping hand there's a loss. You experience a loss. And it's almost just like they are gone. So I don't want to get too deep because like I said, the whole thing with my husband still is so raw. And my sister is such a wonderful person. I appreciate her for checking in. And Margarita, what you did say is that we do need to check in on one another a lot more often. People that are dear to you, let them know, because tomorrow is not promised. It is not promised. They can be here today and gone tomorrow. My husband wasn't sick or anything. You know, he suffered with high blood pressure from the age of 7. From Louisiana, old country boy. And, you know, everything they did was boudin and sausage and, you know, and everything. So, but his situation was more of a hereditary situation. They've not yet figured out how to handle blood pressure on a hereditary situation. It's just a trial and error. And people need to realize doctors are only practicing. They are only practicing, you know. And he ended up with a bleed on his brain. And we literally had just been at the casino hours before. He was laughing and talking, having a good time, no experience, no type of pain. And then all of a sudden he's gone. Yeah, so I appreciate you guys once again. I won't keep going on, but God bless you. Well, all I really appreciate being included in this one. Thank you so much.
I really appreciate you sharing that with us.
Me too. So grateful for you sharing that raw reminder to all of us, because I know it's raw for you, and it's something that, even though we're talking about the Mother's Day and Father's Day, even like with the high blood pressure and us taking care of ourselves, and just that's another thing, you know, we like to ignore stuff. We like to be like, oh, I'll put that off. So this week, next month, next year, and then something happens and it affects all of us. So I'm truly grateful that you chimed in with that.
So I know like we talk a lot about checking on each other, and I definitely think that's necessary. My friends know that I'm one of those people who like anytime someone pops up in my brain, I assume that it's God giving me a download to go and check on somebody. So I will send a message to her, be like, hey, I don't know what's going on with you, but I'm thinking about you. Hi. And I do that because I want people to know that I'm here, but also I want them to know that they're being thought of. Are you familiar with the 5 love languages? I know most people are. So I love the concept of the 5 love languages. But I've decided that I need to add one because mine was a little bit complicated. I'm somewhere between uh, quality time and gifts, right? And so my husband knows like either one of those completely speaks to my heart. But it wasn't necessarily about the gift or the time, it's about the thoughtfulness of it. And so I read somewhere that thoughtfulness is like the sixth one that kind of like umbrellas a couple of them, because most of us want to know that we are seen, understood, and thought of, that we matter to somebody even when we're not physically there. So like my husband, there was this one time I was pregnant, I think with our third son, and he was working second shift. And so he came home one night at like 11:30 at night, and he had gotten vegan ice cream and grape soda. And it was like, I don't, he literally could have bought me a doggone diamond bracelet and it would have felt the same to me in that moment, because for that moment it was like he was thinking about me, and that was what was valuable. And so like when we're reaching out to our friends, I think it is really important to reach out and make sure that they know that we're thinking of them. But along with that, we also need to make sure that we are positioning ourselves in order to get the kind of help and support and, you know, cushioning that we need. What I unfortunately experience a lot is that people start looking for help when they're already desperate. And that is the worst time to try to find a community and feel comfortable letting your guards down. Like and this is why I love raising the bar, because that is exactly what it is. It's creating that community where you can say, you know what, I'm feeling this. I heard this speaker at the event. I can go talk to this person, like developing those relationships so that you can go there whenever you need to. And this is part of what I do with, you know, my program and doing support groups, because if we are already in position, if we're already connected to people who are emotionally woke, like they're able to handle emotions, they're able to let you feel without saying, oh no, don't cry, no, the Lord has everything under control, like those kind of things that shut down emotions. Like those are not the people that are going to be the best support for you when you're struggling. Getting in community with people who are able to just sit with you, who are able to let you cry if you want to cry, who are able to bring a meal over and wash your dishes because you just want to sit on the couch. Like when you have that level of community around you, you don't have to stuff those emotions indefinitely. You can let those things out. You can say, you know what? I appreciate you washing dishes. Do you mind coming to sit with me for a second? And then just sit there. Sometimes you might want to say something. Sometimes you might want to say absolutely nothing. But like when you have community that is okay with that, you can do the things that you need. So I wanted to throw that in because I feel like I'm one that is constantly reaching out to people. But I also know when I'm reaching out to somebody who's not willing to let me be there for them, there's nothing I can do. And I think that a lot of times when we love big and we love hard and we're trying to be there for all the people that we care about, we forget that we can't control it. Like I can be here for you all day long, but if you don't want anyone there for you, there's nothing that we can do. And so as individuals, we have to be willing to be open to someone loving us in that way.
I 100% agree. We do have to be open and we have to get it beforehand. I think I'm a person who reaches out. So I'll send people texts at 2 in the morning, some of my cousins and different people, and I'll just say, just checking on you, just because they'll come across my mind. And I really am just checking on them. A lot of times we do what we would want to receive. And
Yep.
so I don't like when people just call me when they need something. You can ask me for anything. And if I got it, it's yours. But if I feel a pattern of you only calling me when you need something, it just stirs up some negativity in me because I don't feel appreciated, right? And so I try to show people, listen, I'm really thinking about you. I don't need anything from you. And it's probably because I would like to be received that same way. And so I am a believer in checking in. Daddy, I'll be checking on you now, and you don't even know me because I am so grateful for you sharing that. I'm somebody who truly empathizes with you because I've been married a long time and I just know that it's a difficult thing. So I'm just so grateful. I didn't even know what to say at first because I was like, oh my goodness, so many kind of things came in my head thinking relating to what's real. And that's why I like to have these conversations. Like you said, with Raising the Bar, we started it so people can see, like I said, this person has gone to that and they've overcame it, or they're still working on it. They're still on their journey in their story. They're still working through it, but they're open, as you said, they're open. And so I appreciate you because I came on here to talk about my stuff and you made me think, wow, I have a little high blood pressure. I need to go check on myself, check on my husband, and because you just don't know. And so I am truly grateful for you sharing with us. I know sometimes people don't know the smallest thing could be the biggest thing and make the biggest change in somebody's life. And so maybe you came on here for yourself, but you are helping us and whoever else that we might never know watched it and they decide to make that call to the doctor today, or they feel differently about whatever they're going through because you were able to come on here and be vulnerable. So I appreciate you so much.
Well, yeah, definitely. I appreciate you for saying that. Of course, you brought tears to my eyes, but yeah, as far as our health is concerned, gosh, you just you cannot play with it. You can't play with it. Blood pressure issues are hereditary in most Black families, and it is considered a silent killer. I literally was in the truck with my husband. He was in the top bunk. I was in the bottom bunk, and I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the divine God or whatever it was, but he told me to get up. I got up, and my husband was literally suffering from a bleed in his brain, and he never knew. He never knew. I went to wake him up, and he was like, "Oh, yeah, I'm just being a little lazy, kind of sluggish, or what have you." And next thing you know, 3 days later, they're saying that he's brain dead. So our health is 100%. And I'm even after going through all of that, I am the worst person to go to the doctor. My sister's always complaining about, you need to go to the doctor. You need to do this. You need to do that. I'm mostly afraid I don't want them to say something that's, if something's gonna happen, I don't want to know about it. Honestly, there's that thing we were talking about denial. If it's gonna happen, just let it happen. As far as my health is concerned, or my life or my mortality is concerned, that part I would, because I currently got a friend that I know they've given her a date and a time, and I'm like, gosh, what do you say to that person? How do you express your feelings of gratitude to that person, and even just asking them how they're doing, and they're dealing with that mental stress of knowing that, hey, my days may be numbered. How do you talk to them? I'm really struggling with that. I mean, because I'm going through that with, like I said, our dad, and I just talked to him yesterday. He's talking about, yeah, I'm not going to be here much longer. All those different things that the doctors have said to him, and sheesh, it's hard. It really is hard. I don't even know what to say. I try my hardest just to keep in face or what have you, at least trying to be strong for them. But what do you say?
I definitely believe having the door open and just letting people know you're there because everybody receives everything different. I know for me, I'm not a big crier, and if everybody starts like doing round and around me, I'm not a big hugger. Then it just is like awkward for me. That's for me personally. But I do like to know people are there, and like you said earlier, when you are open, then you have those people there. So I'll remind people I'm here, just checking on you. I'm here, just checking on you, and maybe depending on the person. Now if I know that how they are and how they want to be received, then of course I go further. Like I have friends that are really big huggers and stuff, and I'm like, okay, I'm not a hugger, but that's what they need right now, so I'm gonna have to give them a hug. But I have other friends that are kind of built like me, like I just got to keep letting them know I'm there, and when they're ready, they'll might say let's go to lunch, but I don't want to talk about that right now, or I do want to talk about it, but I don't want you to respond, and I'm okay. I'm like, okay, and so I think you just have to keep showing up. You have to keep showing up for your friends. I mean, if you're capable, because also you have to self-care. You're going through a lot right now, and like I said, I'm not a therapist, so I'm just giving you my opinion, and you know what opinions are like. But I'm just saying, like, you have to take care of yourself because that's a lot on you. That's a lot. You like just a few things you told us is a lot, and so you want to make sure that you're showing up for yourself, because I'm sure you have people that still they don't want to be in the position you're in. They want you here. So, you got to take care of yourself first, and then hopefully be there or be open for the other people, or when they're open and willing, you'll be there to greet them.
Okay. A couple years ago, I was journaling and I was seeing a therapist, and the therapist asked me, "What are your core beliefs?" And I was like, "I don't know." And I kind of sat with it for a few days though. And I was like, "What are my core beliefs? What are my core beliefs?" And so she had explained, she's like, "What are the things that you tell yourself like all the time? Like that echoing thing that's always floating around in your head." And I was journaling one day, a couple days later, and I wrote, "I'm not enough." And so I wrote, "I'm not enough" at the top of the page. And then I like went on like this writing tangent about all the ways that I'm not thin enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not meek enough, I'm not quiet enough, I'm definitely not gentle enough. Like all of these different things that I felt like I wasn't enough of. And as I'm like word vomiting all over my journal, I had like my next God download. And it was like, I wasn't made to be enough. I'm not enough because I wasn't supposed to be enough. That's not my job. And the load that that lifted off of me, like I can't even really honestly put it into words, because for so long, literally my entire life, I felt like it was on me. I thought it was my job to convince my mother to stop smoking. I thought it was my job to teach her how to eat healthy. I harassed that woman to death about smoking, about drink your soy milk because it'll help you after your hysterectomy. Like I tried to make her vegan. Like I did everything. I even got my degrees in exercise science and nutrition specifically so that I would know everything that she needed to do, because I felt like it was my responsibility to make her do what she was supposed to do in order for her to not die. That was a huge load to put on a 10 through 26-year-old girl. Huge load. And so when God taught me, you were never built for that. It was like, oh, so I don't have to carry all this. It's not my job to carry all this. I don't have to manage everything around me. I don't have to make people believe the truth. I don't have to make people get baptized. I don't have to convince this person to change what they're doing. I don't have to make this person be a better husband so that they don't get divorced. It's not on me. Like all of these things around me, I was trying to control in whatever way I could find. And that moment was such an epiphany. And so now when I'm talking with people, and people bring heavy things to me, like I've talked about like the people who are struggling with suicidal thoughts. I've talked to people who are dealing with grief. I've talked to people who are dealing with the guilt and shame of addiction and what that did within their relationships and their marriages, or their parents or whatever. The crazy thing that I am so thankful for is that I don't carry their load. I don't carry their responsibility for making them choose a different path. I'm just there for them. And that is so much more powerful than we could ever realize, because most people feel alone when they're hurting. And so it's like there's so much power in just being there. That's what we're built for. We're built for community. I'm a Christian. I talk about God all the time. I talk about God in my coaching all the time. And so when I think about, in Genesis, when God said it's not good for man to be alone, it wasn't that he was like, men suck. Let me go and make a woman because she'll be better. No, like he was building community for them so that they had each other. And so when we look at our relationships, it's about who is there? Who's the people that we have around us and who are we around to support them? When I think in terms of my relationships, I have people like in mental buckets, not like permanent buckets necessarily, but I put people in buckets because old me would get irritated when people wouldn't show up for me the way I showed up for them because I'm like, yo, I literally just gave you everything and you can give me a phone call. Seriously, like, come on. But now I realize that people are not equipped the same way. There are people that I am in position to support them and there are people that are in position to support me. But if you get those things flipped around, then you get disappointed, you get irritated, you get angry with the people that you're meant to be supporting because they don't have it to give back to you. So I categorize people in my head. I'm like, this is an assignment, this is a mentor. And it helps so much because I'm not disappointed when people don't respond the way that I think they should, because I don't think that way anymore. But it also allows me to be intentional in the way that I reach out. And so when I know that people are struggling with things, when I know that people are placed in my sphere for a purpose, I reach out. If I don't remember or I forget to reach out, I don't feel guilty about that anymore because I give out of whatever it is that God has given me. And if God wants me to reach out to them, He'll let me know. But if I need to pull back and there's something that God is doing with them, that's okay too. God loves them more than I do. And so I don't carry that. And so, like, I would say for Dottie, when you're dealing with people who are struggling and they're in a very bad spot, it's not on you to fix it for them. There are no magical words for you to give them that's going to make everything better. But just you being there, loving them enough to say, I got you. If you want me to send you a DoorDash card, I can handle it. If you want to call me, I'm here. Hey, I'm about you. Send them a card, send them a doggone rose on a doorstep. Whatever that thing is that comes to your heart. When you do those things, it lets them know that they're not alone. And that I think is more powerful than having the right words. I hardly ever have the right words when people are hurting. Every once in a while, I might get a good one, but most of the time, I don't have the right words, but they know I'm there. And they know I'll still be there tomorrow. And for
Wow.
that, they know I got you.
Well, I really appreciate that because I'm a very strange type of person, period. I am a natural nurturer. I feel like if people that I love or who are dear to me are hurting, it is my responsibility to fix it. That has always been my way. That has always been my way. If my sister needs something, she shouldn't have to need for it, and I know what her need is, and I have the ability to help solve some of the problem, then I feel like I have to solve it. I mean, it's like it will nag me to the end of the earth. Where my children are concerned, the exact same thing. And in the midst of all of that, it's so wonderful that you would say that because in the midst of me being that type of person, the neglect is I'm neglecting me. I always neglect myself. I'm out here on this truck. I don't want to be on the truck.
Oh, we lost her. She'll probably be back. But it's so crazy. She was saying, here comes Robin's coming back. I think a lot of us do that. We neglect ourselves in the process of trying to, like you said, I think learning not to carry that weight of anything. I mean, I think is just, we just lost Dottie in the middle of some good conversation. Thank you, Robin. Robin, can we hear you now?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can work. Okay. We just lost her, but she was talking about carrying all that weight and even going back to Mother's and Father's Day and all that kind of stuff, we're carrying weight from something that we can't really change or we're ignoring it. Like you said, I think a lot of us ignore stuff.
Amanda.
I think a lot of us, especially if we're givers or like you talked about the love language, I think I'm a giver, so it's natural for me to give, but I don't really have a lot of expectations, but I'm like I said, I'm still human. So when you've done 12,000 things for somebody and you haven't got a, hey, how are you doing? It does.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of stings. And so I do the same thing as you. I put people in box. Okay, this person is not equipped that way. They're probably never gonna give that back to me. So instead of me getting riled up and getting in my feelings, I just know that. And I definitely don't expect. And then when they do something, I'm like, I'm quite surprised. Thank you. I can
Right.
enjoy it more because otherwise you would get hurt and hurt and hurt
Right.
over and over and over again. And so I appreciate all the things. And it's the same thing with my mother. I took care of my mother for I think 4 years, and then last year I had to put her in a home, which was hard for me, but
Mm-hmm.
I should have did it a year before I did it because I was tired, I was gaining weight, I was neglecting myself. I had 4 kids in high school. It was hard on them. She had, like I said, she had dementia, and people didn't understand, like, she was eating candles, and so it was unsafe.
Wow.
And that's why I had to put her in it. Like, we couldn't lock things up enough. She couldn't remember that she had ate, and so it created a problem because she wasn't gaining weight. So imagine you don't know her and she's telling you, I haven't ate anything yet. She's had 5 burgers today. And, not to mention she didn't put her hand in a candle that she probably thought was candy or something because it's colorful. And so I'm removing all these things. And I had to say, I can no longer do this. I had to say, this is not safe for her and it's unhealthy for me. I also had to say, I can't be mad at anybody else that isn't helping me because although I would help anybody, if you know me and you're taking care of somebody, I probably ask you if you need a break or need help because I've been there.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't expect that from people that didn't sign up for it. I can't expect
Right.
all of my family members to jump in if that isn't what they wanted to do, and I can't be mad about it. So I also had to come to terms with that so that I could not be upset with anybody. Otherwise, I'd sit the whole day and be like, this person should have been over here. This person, if we all did it together, it would be so much less. But they didn't choose to bring her to their house. They didn't. That's not how they were built. And then you got to remember, on top of that, my brothers were in prison, so they're no help, And so I did have an aunt that is my aunt is really close to me and she helped, but she was also taking care of my grandma at the time and my other aunt. And so, you can't take on everything. And I was doing the same thing. And I didn't realize that at the time because when it comes to your parents or somebody you're close to, and even though I went before my mom, I had lived in Georgia for 10 years, so we weren't quite as close, but she was still my mother. And I felt like an obligation, like, this is what you do for your mother. I don't understand how anybody else sees this isn't what you do. This is what you do. This is my mother. And, but I put that burden on my family. I put that burden on myself. And I'm not just talking about her, I'm talking about everything that came with it emotionally. And I didn't know how. I'm not a person that gives up. I'm a person, if I do something, I'm there 100%. And I don't know what would happen if I would have kept her, if it wouldn't have gotten unsafe. I don't know what would have happened. Like, because I was tired. I was running a business. It was just so much going on. So you saying about the weight, her saying about the help, so many things have been said that are so relatable. And we just got to check on each other. Robin, what you got to say? Because we got disconnected.
So I just want to piggyback kind of off of what you were just saying. It's important. We have to check on each other, and being there for somebody is just doing what you can do, right? So you don't have to show up in the same way. You know, maybe I would show up, or Dottie, or you would show up. You just show up. Do what you can do, because the little many hands make work light, right? And that doesn't always necessarily even mean physically, emotionally, spiritually. Just like you said, just sit there, let a person talk, cry, sleep, whatever it is that they need to do. People don't realize just coming. I remember when I was really sick at one point. Like, we didn't know what was wrong with me. Really, really, really sick. And everybody would ask me, did I need help? And of course I needed help, but I didn't know what I needed help with. Like, even mentally, I just did not have it. And I remember my niece is actually on the line, or at least she was earlier. I'm not sure if she's still here, but my niece Jordan. And I remember her showing up, and my house was a mess because I'd been really, really sick. And there was no way I was going to invite you over to help me, right? To do anything. And I remember she showed up and was like, yeah, hello, and came in, and she just sat with me even for about 2 hours, and we just talked and laughed. And I remember literally, like, the next day I started getting better because I needed that. I needed the especially because I'm a people person, and, like, I need to be around other people and kind of feed off of that energy, and I need to get sun. I don't see how people stay in a dark house all the, like, I can't do that. And so I needed somebody to show up, and I need somebody to push their way on in and just laugh and joke and just kind of be there. And yeah, so people don't know. They don't know. They think that they have to do some kind of grand thing or come and cook dinner or come watch people's kids. No, just show up and say like, girl, listen, I'm gonna sit here while you go take a shower. Go do that.
Mhm.
Go on, go get it together, and because sometimes we just need that. We just need to be taken from where we're at, taken out of that box, because we'll put ourselves in that box. It's easy to get in, it's very hard to get out, right? So I think it's important. I think it's very important for us to check on one another, show up, do what you can. Just do what you can. If it's just a phone call, if it's coming over, some people like to bake. Bring it over, Some people like to deal with kids. Some people sometimes you just need, like I said, just need to come over and be like, nope, girl, you're going to get in that shower right now. I'm going to wash your hair for you. Come on, let's go. That's what you need. And that's what people need. And it's important.
I want to say thoughtfulness. When you said all that, we just need more thoughtfulness. When we talk about honor or ignore, we just got to be thoughtful of the people that haven't quite dealt with where they're at. And they might be in the middle, they might be honoring, they might be ignoring, but we need to be thoughtful of them and each other. And I think that's what it boils down to.
Yeah. So we initially were talking about Mother's Day, Father's Day, and like experiencing loss and struggle and like what this season does for us. So like, what are some of the things that have helped you guys in your moving forward movements?
Well, for me, remember I told you I'm just now getting out of the denial. I'm not going to deal, because I'm a good girl. I ain't dealing with that foolishness, and cut the other way, period. Like whatever it is, I'm not dealing with that. That don't even affect me. I don't even know what y'all talking about. So I am just now, like literally, like when I say just now, I mean just now, starting to kind of like, okay, it's time. It's time to deal with what's happening with your son. It's time to deal with your guys' relationship. It's time to deal with you feeling like you had to put everything into the other ones because you felt like you didn't do that with the first one. It's time. And I literally just started being open to even recognize it on Sunday when I was taking the 5-year-old swimming. And I was talking about how much joy the babies have brought me. And my cousin, Lawan, Margarita, she was like, you have to stop that. Like, you have to stop that. Like, you had joy with the older one. It's because she's been, she's my cousin, so she's been there the whole time, right? And she's just like, it's not that. And it's not, you have to stop acting like not like I don't have an older son, but like this is just like that, like it's like you're able to start over. Because no matter what, you can't really start over.
Well, remember, I told you too, what's the pressure on them? What kind of pressure are you putting on them as children to be, that I know, because I was the kid that was expected to do everything right. And so not so much because of my brothers, because we grew up in the same house and they made their choices. And there were times my mom understood that. But she also had 4 kids and we were far apart, but not as far as how your children are, to where she got to not do it over, but see us be different, right? Make different choices. But yeah, it's the pressure of being the person that's expected to always do right. You sometimes don't even know it's pressure until you do something that maybe wouldn't be wrong for your brother, but for you, it's like, you did that? Oh my gosh, you're human? Oh my God. So I don't want you to do that.
No, it's crazy. You have said that to me multiple times. And I caught myself saying to my husband the other day, it was a situation with the 5-year-old. And I remember saying to my husband, like, he's not going to turn out like his brother. And as soon as it came out, I was like, oh my God. 1, that I said it. 2, that I thought it, right? Like, even like that was in me, because what's in you comes out of you. And I was just like, okay. Again, this all transpired this past weekend. I'm like, okay, that's.
I think I told you before something I took from my mom. She said she used to talk really bad about men, and even sometimes saying negative things about Black men, because my mom's Mexican, because she had a bad experience. And she said one of her friends told her, do you know your sons are going to grow up and be Black men? And my mom always told me that. So I always took it with me. You have children, and your son has children. And when you say that, that's still a product of them. And when you know what do you understand what I'm saying?
And he's
Like
a
my
product
mom
of
used to
me.
always talk. Yeah, and he's a product of you. So where does it all come back to it? And it has to do with yourself. And then I'm not going to get into like I said, I'm not a counselor, but it comes back on your own feelings. But other people, when they're hearing it, they don't always understand. Like I said, that it's coming from a place of how you feel and that denial and what you have to work through. But it comes out, like you said, it comes out of you. And then maybe his son hears it. He's like, wait a minute, am I bad too? But it doesn't even come from that. And I know you don't think that, but it
No,
doesn't
no,
come
no, no.
from
But
that. It
when literally as soon as I said it to my husband, I thought, oh my gosh, you said that, you feel that way. You have to. This cycle has
I'm gonna
to
tell you
end.
again, you did not fail your son.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in a house with brothers that are in prison. I was in the same house. We've made different choices. They made their choices, and
They did.
you could have did things different. I sometimes look at my kids and I'm like, I thought I gave you everything I didn't have, and you still didn't make the choices I thought you should make. I tell myself, you know what? I thought because to myself, this is my thought, right? I thought I put them in a better position so they would have a way better outcome than me. And it doesn't always work that way, And so, and not saying they're doing anything wrong. Like my daughter told me one day, I don't have any kids. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And so it's not like you're doing bad. You're just not doing what I imagine in my head. I think we sometimes create these little fairy tales, and they're probably not even obtainable. So that's probably step number one. And that's probably why we're feeling bad for Mother's Day or Father's Day, because we're like, I'm supposed to be like the Instagram post. You're supposed to throw me a big party, and I'm supposed to be the best mother ever. And and really, that's just not the reality for everybody. So many things.
Really for anybody.
Yeah, it's not.
It's really we've all had our struggles in one way or another. So it's just I think it's kind of just like being ready. You have to be ready to accept some things and to like deal with it. People who know me know if I feel like it's foolishness, I will. I just it's like literally not even my brain. But because that is my son and because those are my children, right? That it's a little different. And so, at some point you have to be like, okay, because they're not like even I don't want to say it's easier for you to just be like, okay, if it's a parent, I'm just not dealing with them. But I think it would be easier to say you're not going to deal with your parents than it is to say you're not dealing with your child, right? And so when it comes to my kids, I for sure we all do. We want the best for our children. We imagine this life and you feel like you're giving all these things so they can have a good life and to do these things. And then you're just like,
what happened? No, because our kids, we feel like our kids are a direct reflection of us.
100%.
We do. We feel like, even with me, I look at certain things my kids do and I love them to death, but sometimes I'd be like, I wouldn't do that. And then I have to think back, and my husband will remind me, you did do that. You just forgot because you're so far. You
He's so
did
far
do that.
removed from that.
You're so far removed from that, but you must have forgot what you were doing, or when whatever it was, and good or bad. And so we take that burden on. Don't do what you're saying about taking stuff on. You're taking on all that from your son. Oh, that I didn't do this right. I'm gonna try better. I'm gonna do this. And I also told you before too. Maybe he's exactly where he needs to be, and he'll come out, because I know some people that have went. That was their journey, and they have came out and been just good
What God
contribution
created
to
them to
society.
be
They
originally.
yes, everything. And
Yes.
maybe they wouldn't have did that if they didn't get in the position they were in. And so we don't know
100%
what
agree.
the story is or where the journey will take them, but I think you just got to remove yourself from that burden and just go ahead and say, you know what, he's human, he is a part of me, and he's going to make choices, and hopefully his choices will get better. We'll keep praying for him and hoping that they're better and better and better and better.
I wanted to highlight the comment. I'm sorry. Sorry, I wanted to highlight the comment. Uh-oh, who's talking?
This Dottie. I finally got back on.
Got it.
Can you hear me?
Mhm.
Oh, okay. Well, I just wanted to say to my sister, I think the biggest thing that you need to understand and realize that your life has changed so much now from when you first had little. You're a whole different person. Your understanding is different. You've grown in so many different ways, and you have to understand that he was your learning. You learned from him as much as he learned from you. So now you're able to do it a little bit different with the new set of children. You understand what I'm saying? It's a whole different, I mean, it's like you've evolved into someone totally different. You have a better understanding as to what children need or what you need to be able to provide for them. It's not that you did it wrong the first time. It's just that you're a different you're in a different place in life and you have a whole different better understanding now. So it's not that you failed little, not at all. Not at all. And it's not even that little is failing his own children, but he's it's like almost learning in reverse. He's got to go through his things that he needs to go through to make him into the person that he needs to be for his own children. And you had to go through what you went through so that you could be better children, because this is a whole different opportunity for you with these new kids. Like I said, it's not that you're wrong. And I think we all need to look at our kids and make sure that we understand. We've all said that we want better for our children. Every generation has said that. I want better for my children. And as a result of it, not understanding those hardships that you went through, Margareta, and that I went through as a kid, helped me to be able to become the strong person that I am. And in a lot of cases, we are not allowing our children to be strong because we do so much for them. You know, at the same age that my children are now, I have 3 children. One that's in her 30s and she's single. She doesn't have any children. None of them have any children. But by the time I was 23, I had 3 kids plus my little brother, and they all were on me. And it's so easy for them to say what they didn't get or what they don't have, or this, that, and the other. But yet and still, they're still coming to me as adults, and they don't even have what I had to go through as a child or as a young parent raising them. You know what I'm saying? But they're quick to say, you know, it's easy for us to say what we didn't do, but they all survived, and they do not experience half of what we had to go through when we were bringing them up, because we all said we want better for them. So we made sure that they went to good schools. We made sure that they didn't have to walk to school. And that idea that, you know, my kids got dropped off at school. I walked almost 5 miles to get to school every day. What did I deprive them of by making sure that they, you know, they had a car to drop them off? But in actuality, we're handicapping them in a lot of cases, and we need to realize that as well.
Definitely. And we always say better, but how do we actually know? Their journey hasn't ended. We don't know where their road is taking them, where even their struggles are taking them, just like with us. I thought I had my first child at 17. My oldest child is 29. She doesn't have any kids. My other sons, they don't have kids. I have one son that has kids. And if you actually think about it, somebody should have thought I wasn't going to be able to do any of the things I did, like raise them. And just going back into Mother's Day, I don't even know how much I felt like a mother at 17. You know, it was just a learning process. But I did take the journey, and I did go through it, and I came out on the other side of it, hopefully better. And I'm saying that to say you just don't know. Your son's still here. You don't know what's going on. None of us know. We think because of 1 or 2 things is happening, we know, but we don't know. We don't know.
I wanted to highlight the comment that was already made by Sister Sutra. She said, we're just chaperones of God's children. We each have our own soul lessons to learn that have nothing to do with us. And I thought that was beautiful, because it's so true. Like, I used to think that like it was up to me to fill in all of the things that were going to be on this blank canvas that God was giving me, when in truth, they already are preloaded with things. There were already lessons that they were learning. There were already things that God had in mind for them. And so, you know, they weren't a blank canvas. And my kids are definitely not a blank canvas. They are fully loaded human beings with their own opinions about everything and their own experiences. And all of us were too. Motherhood is hard. It's so hard because we want the best for them. Friends and your sister, I'm hearing that you didn't do anything wrong. And I think that's the lesson. Like, it's not that we did anything wrong when they do one thing or another. It's not even that we did anything right that made them a certain way. They just are. And their journey is what God led their journey to be.
But just think about, you had a journey, and now you're in a position to be with your kids and understand all the things you went through allowed you to be how you are with them, to be emotionally available in a way that you may not have had access to or even knew you were capable of doing. So
100%.
we think things are bad that sometimes aren't bad.
It's
They
what's
are
neat. So,
bad in the moment. They're bad in the moment, but
right. It's what I think it's what's needed to shape us into the person that God has created us to be, right? And so I for sure am 100% different and in a different space now than I was when I had my older son. Because when I had my older son, I was 23. So you're still real dumb. You're real behind when you're in your 20s having kids. Like you just are. You're not. You're just not mentally ready and stable. At least I wasn't. Let me say that mentally ready. I was most definitely. I was like financially stable. I've always been a person like I'm gonna figure it out. We're not gonna be homeless. We're not gonna live in trash. We're not gonna, have what is it, gray notices on our door for our lights. We're not gonna do that. But even still, like you still it's an emotional awareness and knowing, some of the things what I thought was important. I like, for example, I always thought it was important for my kids to go places. I didn't realize it was important for me to be the one to take them. I didn't have patience. I didn't have patience at all. Like that was gone. It did not exist. So now, with being older, like I'm able to, okay, that's not important. Kids run around, they jump, they play. Boys are extremely active. I have 4 boys and 1 girl, and they are true boys. Like they run, jump, play, bump into everything. And now I'm just like at the place where I'm like, okay, as long as nobody gets hurt, nothing's broke, we all right. Before, when my older son was young, I was on edge about everything. Stop, quit, and sit down.
that was me.
Stop, quit, and sit down quickly, please. So yeah, we're just I'm at a different place and I am different and I praise God for that. And I just, it's all a learning experience and not just for me, but for others too. Right. So I think that that's kind of why we all each go through something different. It's so we can learn from each other. And that's why we are a community.
I believe that all of you guys are beautiful, and I very, very, very much appreciate this forum.
Oh, thank you. We
Thank
appreciate you
you.
joining us.
I appreciate all of you joining us because we have had so many different perspectives and so many things that people don't often think about loss, because the loss doesn't come just with somebody. Like I said, for me, my mother had dementia for about 5 years before she passed. She got a staph infection and she got sick, and it just wasn't the same after that happened. And she declined, but she wasn't deceased, you know what I mean? She was still alive, but it was still a loss for me. It was still hard. It still wasn't the same type of celebration. And then we have like you not having your son there. I'm sure my mother, I know, went to the same thing, not having my brothers available or to be there. It probably was a little bit triggered because during those holidays, you're thinking about different people, you losing your husband and Father's Day coming up. That's going to be something on your mind. I appreciate you sharing that with us. And each of us have gone through different things. And the holidays unfortunately some are triggers sometimes. She was asking earlier about what changed, and for me, I think I really ignored everything, especially with my mom. But I noticed that I did kind of check out a little bit on Mother's Day and Father's Day. Like I kind of didn't really, I wasn't excited about it. I want to say this is the first year I was probably a little bit excited about Mother's Day because I got to take my mother-in-law out, whereas before we did take her out, but there's a little part of me that's thinking more about my mother and how I'm not experiencing that with her and now I'm with somebody else. And you just have all these crazy thoughts that are in your head that you may not even want to tell. And me and my mother-in-law have a good relationship. So of course I don't mind taking her out, but it's more making me think about my mother, where this is the first year I was able to really like enjoy taking her out. My kids took me out and I was okay with that because like I said in the beginning, and you guys weren't here, for me for 40 something years, Mother's Day was about my mom. And even when I had children, it was still about my mom when it came to me. Now, maybe for my kids, it was about me. And so it was, and then for her to be gone, it's like, I can't really make this about me because I feel kind of selfish or like, like I'm not acknowledging her, or like I'm doing something wrong. I can't make it about somebody else. And so, and the same thing with Father's Day. Father's Day is hard for me because I was super close to my dad. We spent a lot of time together. We talked on the phone a lot. And so, like I said, sometimes even when I try to ignore it, then you see those posts and then you're like, or a memory shows up. And then I'm like, oh my goodness. Or like the other day, I was at a festival and I seen a guy selling hats, and one of the hats was the veterans, and he loved wearing his veterans. And people don't realize those little tiny things. Now I'm over here thinking, boy, I miss my dad, and it's about to be Father's Day. It was just his birthday. So May and June is kind of hard because I have Mother's Day, I have my dad's birthday, and then I have Father's Day, and they're all kind of like back to back. Well, I had asked if she felt like she slighted her husband. I think I kind of did. That's why I asked that question. I think I kind of did. Like I didn't really like when my dad was alive, I did, but once he was gone, I was like, my dad, have your kids celebrate you, So I think I kind of slighted him just a little bit. Guilt. I had a little guilt. And so I'm just now getting to a place, and it's still a little pressure with my dad just because I did have those 5 years of my mom not being fully here. So even though I ignored it once she passed, it's just a little different, right? The healing process. So with my dad, it's been hard. And I'm just now getting to a place where like, okay, it's okay to celebrate. Because I think a couple years I was like, you ain't my dad. Your kids need to celebrate you. And my husband's a good dad, but I just was like, I don't want to celebrate them. My dad ain't here. Before, I was the person who would get the kids together. And you guys have younger kids, so you probably know this. What are we gonna do for your dad? Even though I'm saying this from them, I really did all the work. Now I'm like, my dad ain't here. You better ask your kid. Your kids is grown. What y'all doing for your dad? And that really wasn't fair because what I said earlier too, and I don't know if Robin and Dottie were here, is that, or I think you had came in, Robin. We do need to celebrate our men with Father's Day coming. There are some good men. They get some slack, but there are some good men. I had a good dad. I don't know what type of spouse he was, a partner, but that ain't my concern. I had a good dad, and I have a good uncles. And I have good uncles. I have a good dad. I've had good men in my life. I hope I have good sons. My sons right now are doing good as parents, or my son is. My other sons are good men. They have the potential to be great men, and in their relationships when they get there, when they have children, and I don't want to slight them. I don't want to slight them because of my guilt. I don't want to slight them because the world wants to give them a bad vibe. They are just important as we are as far as kids, because there's a lot of kids that don't have their fathers and that they need them. It's okay for them. One thing I believe is a person could be a terrible husband, spouse, partner, and be a good dad. My dad never married my mom. He never had any other children. I'm his only child. And I don't know, he had a couple girlfriends. He had some good relationships when he was older, but I was his girl. I could look at before he passed away, my baby, my baby. He was very proud of me. I love my baby. I love my baby. And so there are men that love. And like I said, I don't know how it would have been. He was with my mom for like 5 years. I don't know. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you he was the best person with her, but he was a good father. There are other good men, and I just want to make sure we acknowledge them and our mothers and our hurt and our pain and everything. And so that's why I wanted to get on here. So if anybody has anything else, speak now.
I think part of the reason why I'm so happy to celebrate my husband is because I do love the fact that he is such a phenomenal guy, and I do very, very much want Black men to know that they.
Oh, we lost her. They are loved. They are loved. Uh-oh, you're back. Yes.
Okay, sorry about that.
No problem.
Site dropped. But yeah, but I love knowing that I can give that to my husband, to know that, my Black man is loved passionately, because it is definitely important. But like you were saying, Margarita, honoring how we feel about it. Okay. I can love my husband. I can celebrate Father's Day with him. I can still have a little bit of edge when I think of my dad. And same way with my kids, with my mom and my children. Our emotions are complicated, and it's okay to juggle all of it at the same time, and it's all justified and reasonable. It's just humanity.
My nephew always says two things can be true. So two things can be true. You can have that relationship that quite isn't where you want it with your dad and still have an amazing father in your husband. And I think for me, I was lucky to have both amazing men. It was just a little guilt, with celebrating once one passed. And so I was very fortunate to have two amazing men in my life. So I'm going to try to approach Father's Day this year a little different, a little happier and without the guilt. But I think that comes from seeing different people, talking to different people, acknowledging where I'm at with things, which you talked about earlier. And I'm just grateful again that you were able to join us, Robin. I don't know, she disappeared, and Dottie, and that we were able to hit so many different perspectives. So I hope some people found some helped and they enjoyed the conversation. I hope that they reach out to you, that they attend our Raising the Bar so that they can connect with more people, because the connections are important. One part of our saying is exposure matters. And I believe that, because if I wasn't exposed, even to you, listening to you today, listening to Dottie, listening to Robin, being exposed to different things opens me up to see things differently and to appreciate what I have or to approach it differently. And so I'm grateful for that. Everybody's back on if they want to say anything before we go.
I just wanted to say thank you again for having me on. I love talking to you, so of course that was a natural awesomeness, but this
Yeah, tell us about you, learn more about your coaching, to hear more of your story.
definitely, if anyone wants to connect with me, feel free to send me a DM. My website is mecoachum.com if you ever want to check that out and connect with me there. But other than that, I will definitely be at the event, and I would love to meet all of you guys in person and everyone on the replay as well.
Thank you, guys.
Bless you. Take care.
All right.